Would you like to hear the latest update between me and my battles with the taco truck near my apartment?
Oh, please.
Well, complain and you shall get what you want. They're not here anymore.
They're just gone?
They're gone. I haven't seen their truck for the last week outside. And you know what? I hope they have a profitable business. I want them to do fine. But they've left Grand Avenue, right outside the athletic club in Oakland. So I'd say it's a victory for your boy here.
Hang on. So you complained about the music, which I'm fine with. But now they're probably going to get less business because you live on a very busy part of in Oakland, in downtown Oakland, where I'm sure they get a lot of clientele. And so now they're moving on. And also the people around that neighborhood who maybe go to that taco truck religiously aren't going to get what they want because of you.
If I helped myself along with the fine people that live here at the Grand, then mission accomplished. And yeah, I may have called the cops in the process and got them shut down, but hey, it's worth it.
You didn't do that, did you?
I did not do that. I did not do that.
Wow.
And I'll say this too. They very well could come back on the weekend. And that's fine. As long as they just do it on Sunday nights and during the week. They go around. They're trying to, like, I get it. I see them around Oakland. They may come back. But if they do, all I'm saying is, when it's 3 a.m., just lower the music. That's all I'm asking for.
I hope they come back, because if I were you, I'd feel
they'll be fine. They'll be fine. They're a profitable taco truck. They're well known. They got multiple taco trucks around Oakland. They'll be okay.
All right, I'll take your word for it.
I got other news. Did you want to hear what happened with me? What was the end result of me not spackling at my old place?
The end result was that you'd probably get a lot of that money taken out of your security deposit.
I did, but still got money back. I was expecting them to just take the whole security deposit, but in the end, they took some money away. Truth be told, $150 out of it. Not terrible, honestly.
What was the?
It was an $800 security deposit.
Yeah, all right. So they took their share for the lack of spackle.
And that's what I would say $100, not terrible in the grand scheme of things.
It's pretty bad.
You think so?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. But it's a huge. That's everyone's kind of gripe with whatever their apartment complex is. It's always they didn't get the security deposit or enough of the security deposit back, even though they felt like there was nothing wrong.
Yeah, I'll say this. This is the part that irked me a little bit. So they took $100 out to paint, which I get. They had I didn't spackle. That's fine. $100. Okay, fair. They also took $200 out for cleaning. And I will say this. I cleaned thoroughly. So whatever their standards were, I did not meet them. And in the end, there's nothing I could do about that. I spent 2 solid days cleaning.
Yet they still took 200 out. I don't know if you did a good enough job.
Steven, if I showed you the pictures, it was spotless. I don't know what else I could have done.
I don't need a picture. I'm good.
Now, were there little crevices where I couldn't get to stuff? Yeah. But in the end, I thought it was pretty immaculate.
Not immaculate enough.
Apparently not. But in the end, I still could come away with some money. So I'd say it's a win for your boy. Let that be a lesson to all the kids out there. You don't need to spackle.
Yes, you do. That's not. Yes, you do.
Yeah, I think I came away unscathed here. I think I'm good.
This is a terrible lesson for kids. What do you want to get an eighth of your security deposit back just because you didn't spackle?
Well, how many kids are listening to the podcast? I would like to know that information, actually.
Probably my nephew.
Oh, good.
My brother might force him to listen.
Well, that's bad parenting. With all the objectionable language we have on this podcast.
Yeah, no, he texted me one time telling me to clean it up. I'm like, dude, we didn't ask you to listen to the pod. Yeah. You're doing it on your own. You're volunteering.
Seriously. I will say this. Okay. In all seriousness, yes. Spackle. Do whatever you can to plug up those holes. It's your responsibility when you leave an apartment complex. So now I'm debating that at my new place. I checked with the resident people. They don't live on the premises, but you got to call, whoever runs these places. And I said, hey, what's your guys' policy on mounting TVs? And they said, we're fine with you mounting TVs, but we prefer if you get a professional to do it. And to me, I'm like, I'm not going to pay somebody to do that.
Right.
So I'm going to do it myself. But I do wonder how flimsy these walls are, because the best spot to put my TV is right up against the wall where the other neighbor is. And I just don't want those holes to be drilled right through and it fucks up their place.
Yeah. I can't give you any advice on that. I'm terrible at it.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason why I'm
You
such
can't
an
find
expert.
studs?
Oh, I think I can, but whenever I feel like I found a stud and I do the whole thing where I get like a pencil and I draw those like the tiny lines, lightly draw the tiny lines so that I could like shape out where the stud is, and then I drill into it. I always seem to catch like either a metal part or maybe I just didn't find a stud and my stud finder stinks. It just I'm embarrassed to show what my wall looks like right now. I don't even know what I'm expecting none of our security deposit back for what I did.
Unlike me, Steven. Well, I'm going to try it out this weekend. I'm going to finally put up my other TV, and then I'll have an equal amount of cups to TVs, AJ Cruz. But I'm a little nervous because I don't want to cause any damage in the process. But it seems like a waste of money to have somebody mount your TV for you.
That is. No, you got to do it yourself. Everyone's got to learn how to mount their TV at some point.
No, I've done it before, and I did it at my last two places, the one in LA and the one in Oakland over here. I did it on some drywall, which not the best thing, but in the end, didn't spackle. Probably should have. But
that reminds me. Sorry to just cut you off, but I did.
By all means, I do it all the time.
So my number one, and I'm promising I'm going somewhere with this. My number one Tinder success story is me meeting Jesse, right? That's my number one.
It was on Tinder. It was on Tinder.
Tinder, yeah.
I thought it was on Bumble.
No, it was Tinder. The last one was Bumble.
Gotcha.
But the success story, the number two success story with Tinder, if anyone has any doubts, my brother's friend, I'm not going to name any names, but my brother's friend found someone on Tinder, right? And they went on a date. They really liked each other. And I believe now they are married and they're living in a house. Turns out that she is the daughter of the guy who patented the TV wall mount. Yeah. So as you can imagine,
he's dating the daughter of Mike Mount.
Is Mike Mount the name of the guy who made the TV wall mount?
Yeah.
Yeah? That didn't sound like a very confident yeah.
I'm confident in that information.
Are you?
No, not at all.
And as far as I know, they are both living happily in a nice place. So
well, good for them.
If anyone has any doubts on Tinder, that's what can happen. You can meet your future wife, and some of them might have a dad who patented the TV wall mount.
Well, now I know what I'm going to say at your wedding. I was like, Steven, a success story with Tinder. Now let me tell you all of my bad episodes with Tinder. Here we go.
You gonna speak?
Am I not allowed to?
Don't think at the wedding, because we have a very strict timeline, but at the welcome party in Walnut Creek, yes.
I'll tell you what, sir.
You have free reign to speak.
If there's an open bar, you can tell me whatever you want me to do.
There's no open bar at the welcome party, but there's going to be beer and wine. So enjoy that.
What about at the actual wedding?
Yeah, it's an open bar for a bit.
Oh, hell, all right then. You tell me where I need to be picture-wise, and I'm there.
I'm not asking you to take no pictures. I'm just saying if you want to make a speech, you can do it at the welcome party.
All right, I'll make a speech.
All right.
Just got to think about what I'm going to say. Time for this.
Dude, I think my brother is going to use this time to I'm worried about my brother's best man speech because I don't know if he's going to use it as like a way to actually congratulate me or just use it as a time to do like a 5-minute roast
Well,
and just
sorry, go ahead.
reveal my deep dark secrets of when he like made me cry when I was a kid.
Well, I told you when we first started the podcast, I told my story about how I did the best man speech for my buddy Andy, who was getting married. But I wasn't even the best man. His brother was the best man, but he didn't feel comfortable giving the speech, so I had to do it. And basically, the whole speech was me making fun of his brother for not doing the best man speech. He's the worst
Nice.
man. He won't even speak.
Agreed. What the hell, man?
It was lame.
Yeah.
Anyway, just your opinion, man. Stephen Langford, Derek Papa. I hate that the last few shows we've done, we've had to honor the dead. And it's been legends in sports. And so 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago, I think it was, Bill Walton, who, obviously, I would say more broadcasting legend. Obviously, he, great player, but injuries kind of ruined his career. Jerry West, a legend on the court as a player, off the court as an executive, 3-time Hall of Famer. And then last night, arguably the greatest baseball player of all time, Willie Mays passes away at the age of 93. And the timing of this is incredibly eerie because not only like 24 hours before that, Willie gave a message to John Shea saying that, while he is very happy that Major League Baseball is playing a game in Rickwood, a place that he played as a child in Birmingham, he will not be able to attend because he's just not feeling well health-wise. And then the next day, while during the Giants game, Cubs and Giants, we get the news that Willie Mays has passed away. And the news is not very surprising. If anybody, knew what was going on with Willie, his health was not great for a long time. And truth be told, at KMBR, it was something that was discussed for a while, and we were all bracing for it to happen soon. So today has been a good celebration. Last night was a good celebration of just remembering the man and listening to different people, whether they were former Giants or just baseball people talk about the memory of Willie Mays. So, Steven, as a Giants fan, when you think of Willie Mays, what comes to mind?
Mythical. Mythical is the word. Is what comes to mind. I mean, there's the line in Sandlot where the guy who plays Babe Ruth says, "Heroes get remembered, but legends never die." And I love that because where he was in that time and what he did in the sport was just like it was a perfect mix because the sport needed someone like him. When 4 years after Jackie Robinson broke the color barrier in Major League Baseball, racism was still very much prevalent back in that time. Yet Willie Mays, like what was the quote that I read earlier? God, who said? I can't remember who said it either. But there's been so much I've been reading about him lately. But what was said was Willie Mays made it absurd to be racist, just because of how inclusive he was with the game. Everyone should be allowed to play baseball, and I think there's that story with the manager at the time, or another player, Alvin Dark, I believe his name was, who had some very racial ways of thinking, and a lot of guys were going to leave the Giants, and had Willie Mays not stepped in and played captain, then who knows what would have happened with the Giants there in the 60s. But I don't know. I just feel for a lot of the people who grew up watching him, because we haven't really had this happen yet for us, where we're seeing some of our generation, our younger childhood, our athletic heroes like going into the Hall of Fame. And we're seeing a lot of that now with football, with basketball, with baseball. But it hurts when a part of your generation, a piece of your childhood goes away. And I feel for a lot of the people who watched Willie Mays, who grew up idolizing him. Turns out there was a lot of them.
Mhm.
A lot of people that grew up idolizing him. Actually, I'd be interested to learn who his idols were on the baseball field. But yeah, man, just a sad day within the Giants community. 2 days before this whole game at Rickwood Field, where I mean, if there was no Willie Mays, then who knows if the Giants would be participating in what's sure to be a fantastic event tomorrow for all of baseball. So yeah, just sad day, sad news, but I do enjoy hearing the stories about him because there doesn't seem to be anyone who's had a run-in with him who doesn't have something glowing to say, or at least have some sort of a story when they met him.
Yeah, I mean, the most interesting thing I heard today was Bob Costas came on with us, and he said Willie Mays would be the type of guy to shake Ty Cobb's hand. If you know anything about Ty Cobb, he was not a fan of Willie Mays and people like him, African Americans. And Willie Mays was willing to love everybody, from what I hear, and everybody loved him. And yeah, man, it seems to me that when you ask baseball historians, the likes of Bob Costas or anybody that follows the game, they all say without a doubt Willie Mays was the best player of all time because he was good at everything, whether it was home runs. In some debate whether he would have been the all-time home run king if he had not served in the military for what was it, 2 seasons?
It was just one. It was 1952.
Okay, just one. But yeah, a lot of people say that he would have surpassed Hank Aaron, or he would have had the numbers that Hank Aaron had to chase. But yeah, and he was good. You know, I mean, everyone talks about that great catch, and everyone see the highlights. Even if you're a NFL player, people reference the Willie Mays catch, and it's crazy. We're talking about it today in Bay Area sports. There's really two the catches. There's obviously Dwight Clark's the catch, the 1981 NFC Championship game. And there is Willie Mays. I'm not as good with baseball history, so I apologize. I forget what championship game it is, but he's able to catch the ball over his shoulder and just, the ball just goes into his glove, and it's a beautiful catch. And there's so many great memories or just great moments in Willie Mays' career. And how many people or how many franchises can say the two biggest faces in their history were so connected the way that Willie Mays and Barry Bonds were? And obvious, Willie Mays was his godfather, and he knew his father, Bobby Bonds, and there was the whole thing about Barry. Basically, if Willie Mays didn't exist, then Barry Bonds doesn't sign with the Giants. He was a big factor in all of that. And Willie, was always there for him. Barry wanted to wear number 24, and the Giants were okay with it. MLB was not. They didn't want to have this whole thing of once you start, retiring jersey numbers, then they come back. So Barry went with his father's number, Bobby 25, and yeah, it's just they've been together for so long, and I was listening to clips today of Barry on the Say Hey documentary, just being like, I didn't want to surpass Willie Mays's number, his record, because I love Willie too much. And Willie, when they retired Barry's number, just, kind of pleading with the Hall of Fame voters, just say, please vote this guy in. He really means a lot to me. So it's not often you see a connection like that between, arguably, I could be wrong here, Stephen, but I think the two biggest names in Giants franchise history are Willie Mays and Barry Bonds.
Yeah, I think that's what's cool about that whole story is like Willie Mays and Barry Bonds are names that are synonymous with baseball, but with Giants history, it really is crazy how there's the connection with those two. And I ended up watching that HBO documentary last night, and for a second time, I think I watched it like on the flight over to Arizona when I went for spring training. So I only watched it a couple of months ago as well. But yeah, just like that's what I'm glad you mentioned that, the connection of Bobby Bonds being the next Willie Mays, supposedly, because he could do a little bit of everything. He was also a 5-tool player. And then his son comes in and becomes one of the most dominant hitters that the game's ever seen, and could actually be a 5-tool player if you're not, counting the latter stages of his career. Yeah, I think I didn't realize that Willie was such a. I didn't realize he was such a national phenomenon back in the day. Like I didn't realize like some of the things that I loved learning. Just him showing up on a couple of random sitcoms, Bewitched, and I think like the Donna Reed show or something. And it's like when
No way. He was on Bewitched?
yeah,
As himself?
As himself.
Dude, I love that. In 70s, 80s, 90s sitcoms, you could show up as yourself and everybody's just like, "Oh my God, it's Willie Mays. Hey everybody."
Right?
Like, have you ever seen Jim Harbaugh on Saved by the Bell?
Yes. In the cafeteria, right?
Yeah, just random.
Hang on. I'm pulling this up. Hang on. Hang on. All right, here we go.
Oh, some more does from Perugia.
Hey, Sam!
Say hey, Willie.
How you doing?
Fine, just fine.
Sam, isn't that Willie Mays?
Of course.
She's my favorite.
Naturally, she's her mother's daughter.
What's he doing here?
Oh, Darren, really?
You mean he's a, two?
The way he hits home runs? What else? Excuse me, sweetheart.
Gee, I think it's about time for me to pop out to the ballpark.
He sure is.
Little things like that.
Yeah. So Willie is a witch. Got it.
Correct.
Okay.
Then learning about the move to San Francisco, and really like there really wouldn't be a San Francisco Giants if they didn't have a face of the team. It to be honest, it kind of reminds me of this day and age with the A's moving to Vegas. It's like, who are they going to have as that one guy that everyone can kind of glob onto as the superstar? I don't know if they have that. Well, the Giants had that when they moved to San Francisco, and I know the Niners had their success, but really they didn't become like a household. They didn't become household names until what, the Joe Montana years in the 80s, really. And obviously they were popular, but the Giants were the Giants, and it was Willie Mays, it was Willie McCovey, and all those guys, Orlando Cepeda, Juan Marichal, take your pick. And moving to San Francisco, trying to live in an upscale neighborhood, and people basically trying to discriminate him because of his skin color and not let him move, but he still endured and persisted and eventually moved into that and kind of set the standard for the housing discrimination laws that were put in place in California. Like, he had such an impact on and off the field, and I didn't really learn that until, I didn't really know much about that until these documentaries and having heard stories from what's come out these past couple of days.
Yeah, it's been interesting to hear, all the people that I was watching the post-game show last night. Carlos Ramirez and Ron Wotus and Richard Relia had a bunch of people on. Ken Griffey Jr. joined them and just talking about his relationship with Willie Mays. And, my dad popped on, Jake Peavy, JT Snow, and just people that came on, whether it was KMBR 95.7, The Game Today, just hearing different people's perspectives on the man. It has been very interesting. And it's been very interesting to hear, guys do the impression of Willie with the kind of high-pitched voice, like, hey! But, yeah, man, I can't say enough about his career because I really don't know that much about it. But just the way the guy was, I've been around him a few times, never met him, never shook his hand, but the presence of him, he was in a wheelchair usually, and when my dad was doing Giants games, I usually would wait in the dugout for him to do whatever he needed to do, and I just sit there, and I'd see the likes of Richard Relia come by and be the nicest guy in the world, and Barry Bonds not so nice, but Willie Mays had people around him always, and just the aura of who he was, and yeah, you can't hate a guy like that. I mean, like, I feel like we can't. I feel like that way about the three guys that have, or the other two guys that have passed away in recent weeks. Everybody loved Bill Walton. Whatever perception there was of Jerry West, if you actually knew the man, you respected him, and people loved him. Same thing with Willie Mays. And I don't think, you know, I guess Steph. Would be in the category, but just a guy that was universally respected and loved as much as Willie Mays in the Bay Area. I think A's fans could even agree, like, can't hate Willie Mays. The guy's awesome. So, yeah, rest in peace to Willie Mays. 93 years old. He lived a very long life.
Even Dodgers fans. There was a beautiful
Yeah.
John Shea article that he wrote earlier this morning. Kind of making the point that Willie Mays is a friend to everyone, kind of to what you were just saying. And even Dodgers fans, when he would go into their stadium, they wouldn't boo him. And that's kind of when that's where the rivalry was really just getting started, because the Dodgers moved over there from Brooklyn. What was one other thing? And you talked about the 660 home runs, just if he didn't even, if he didn't play, or if he didn't have to serve in the Korean War. Also, having to play at Candlestick Park. At Candlestick Park and the Polo Grounds, and hitting. I mean, I know the Polo Grounds to left and right field. I mean, you could hit one out any time of the day, but doing it in center field, where it's 483 feet, I think, to center field in the Polo Grounds, damn near impossible. But with Candlestick Park, one of my favorite stories, and John Shea told this on the Willie Mays doc, but obviously the wind would knock it down at Candlestick. Like, they had an idea. They went out there at like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock in the afternoon, and they said, "Wow, this would be a great place for a ballpark." But at night, they didn't account for nighttime and playing with the wind there. But instead of, I'm kind of comparing it to this day and age, where guys are using their TikTok as leverage in contract negotiations, and baseball players not wanting to come to Oracle Park because you might hit fewer home runs than you normally would. I know it was a different time, but hearing Mays adjusted his swing so that he wouldn't pull the ball to left, but rather he would hit it into a jet stream going into right field, so it would be perfectly placed, so the ball would fly out of the ballpark. And he still hit 660 home runs doing that. How often do you hear that? I am going to adjust my swing so that I can hit out of this ballpark. Because in this day and age, it'd be like, no, I'm not going to adjust anything. No, I'm going to go to a ballpark that better suits me. I'm going to leave this team. Whatever. I'm forcing a trade. Get me out of here.
Yeah.
If a player has, the star power like Willie Mays has, that would probably be what he would do. That's probably what they would do today. But he didn't do that. Didn't complain. I'm sure he did in some capacity, but at the end of the day, he made himself better. And I don't know. I loved that little tidbit. It kind of just adds to his legacy. And that catch, that catch.
Yeah.
I know that there are two different names, but I don't know. I'm not going to try and diminish what Dwight Clark did at all, because of the moment, that moment in time. In the NFC Championship. I understand all of that, right? That wasn't the NFC Championship, right?
No, it was.
Yeah. But like Mays having to sprint back 40 to 50 yards to make an over-the-shoulder grab without even looking at the ball, and then still having the wherewithal to throw it in because there was a runner tagging from second and he knew that he could score if he didn't throw that in. I don't know. That's just... To me, I know Dwight Clark's is known as the catch, and football is the most popular sport, but that catch by Willie Mays was one of the greatest things that will ever happen in sports, and you won't see that again because you don't see outfields like that anymore.
No.
Where guys have enough room. He would have ran it straight into the center field wall. I don't know, maybe 20 yards in.
Yeah,
it was in a normal field.
Yeah, let's be real. The more difficult catch is Willie Mays, because while Dwight Clark went up there to snag it down, it's incredibly difficult what Willie Mays did.
Yeah.
And one thing I've been hearing the last few days, from last night to today, Brian Murphy said this, my dad said this, is while we never want Willie to pass away, it is kind of fitting to have this happen 2 days before Rick would. And I agree with that, because a lot of people knew this was coming, and it's sad that it did. But what better way to remember Willie Mays than to have basically a game dedicated to him? And the whole baseball world will be watching. I think it's actually pretty cool. Not saying that it's cool that he passed away by any means. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that we were able to do this game and honor him. He was going to be honored regardless. You know, they put up a mural today, and it's just crazy that they're doing all this for him, and they were really going to honor him while he was still alive, and they're doing it now that he's passed away. So while it is unfortunate that he did pass away, I can't think of a better time where the man will be celebrated that quickly.
Yeah, I suppose you're right in that aspect. I guess that's a positive takeaway you could have from it. But I think
I know it's a morbid way to think about it. No one wants anybody to die, but what I'm saying is that how quickly we're able to, you know, honor him, I think is pretty special.
yes, there would be no better way. But at the same time, you do wish that he'd be able to see,
Of course.
a professional baseball game being played on that field that his foundation helped renovate. But you know, being able to honor him there, I guess that's kind of I want to say a consolation prize, but it's definitely it's going to be about him tomorrow. There's no doubt it's going to be about him, and I don't know, just the adulation, the praise that he's going to get. It's very well deserved.
Yeah, and I think the Giants are actually doing a very cool thing where they're opening up the ballpark tomorrow to go watch the game and to honor Willie. You can go. People have done it already, but obviously his statue is up at Willie Mays Plaza, so people are going to leave flowers. People have already been doing that. I saw one guy go over with a 40 and pour one out for Willie. So the celebration will be even more special in the Bay Area and in Rickwood tomorrow. So, yeah. All right, Peter, Willie Mays. He lived a long life, a life that, you know, I enjoyed listening to all the stories today. I will say this, and I'm not surprised, but the national shows that mentioned it but really didn't want to dedicate much time to it, that was kind of lame. Like, obviously, First Take has to debate something. Colin Cowherd just wanted to have Tom Brady on and talk about his broadcasting style. And, you know, Tom Tolbert made this point today of just like, you can't ask Tom Brady about Willie Mays. Like, the guy's from San Francisco. I'm sure he has some thought on it, but to not ask one question about that. And, you know, I know, and I'm guilty of this too, like baseball is not the same as it used to be as far as covered nationally. So ESPN doesn't talk about it as much, and a lot of shows don't talk about it as much. But when a guy like Willie Mays dies, I just would have thought there'd be more coverage on that. But I guess I'm wrong.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah, kind of lame. But I will say this. The one thing I did take away from today is I do love that back in the 50s, guys, if you were a popular baseball player, you best believe you had a song. The Willie Mays song is fucking legit.
Yes.
Say Willie. You ever heard Vita Blue song?
No.
It's a fucking jam. Ooh, Vita Blue. Ooh, Vita Blue. If you were a good baseball player, you had a song made about you.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't see that too often anymore.
You don't. You don't, actually. Mm-mm. Like, the closest thing we have today is Mo Bamba.
He's not even a good player.
I know. Also, the song's not even really about him.
The song's not about him. No, the song's not about him.
Yeah, not at all. I actually hate that song.
I like it.
Okay. Tacky had one thing in here that I saw that I can bring up. Where was it, Tacky? It was him talking about Barry Bonds. Hang on. I love to hear Derek's Barry Bonds stories. I don't have a lot. As I said, I was in the dugout while my dad was getting ready to call a game with Dave Fleming. And by the way, if you haven't heard it, Dave Fleming's announcement of of Willie Mays passing is hard to listen to of how emotional he is, but he did a fantastic job. It's John Miller, you know, the consummate pro, handled it very well. But Dave did not want to be in that moment. And I'm sure he was like, why me? like, shouldn't Kruk or Kipe say this? And then it was it was his responsibility yesterday, and it was tough to listen to. But I commend the job that Dave Fleming did.
Yeah.
Sorry, you want to say something, Steve?
Nah, that was just total pro.
Yeah.
Total pro, man. Couldn't believe it.
But yeah, I remember just being in the dugout waiting for my dad, and usually Dave would come. Dave was awesome, man. Like, God, I could tell stories about Dave Fleming hanging out with me that first year when my dad was doing Giants games. Dave had to be 28, and I was 14, and we were closer in age than he was with my dad. So we would talk about like Chappelle Show and shit that was going on then. Actually, Dave, I'll tell the story when we come up to the 20th anniversary of Anchorman coming out, because that I remember me, my dad, and Dave after a Giants game all going to a midnight release of Anchorman, and that's the first time I've ever seen it. I'll tell that story another time when we come up on the 20th anniversary. But so Barry Bonds was, around the Giants. I remember one time I was in the dugout and Barry Bonds was doing batting practice, and then he was walking in the dugout, and it's the most narcissistic thing I've ever seen, where he was coming in my direction, and
Whoa.
I knew that he was not making eye contact with me at all.
Mm-hmm.
So either he was going to bump into me or I had to get out of the way. And he just kept walking, and he came closer and closer, and I was like, do I just let him hit me? It's almost like he was telling me, like, get the fuck out of the way, kid. So I walk out of the way, but I'm pretty sure if I didn't do anything, Barry Bonds would have just walked all over me.
So that's your story?
I got another one.
All right.
One of my first jobs when I moved from college, where I went Austin to the Bay Area back home, I worked for Atomic Productions that did a lot of filming at Niner football games for Michael Mina's restaurant. It was the first year that Levi's opened, so I was there every weekend. It's a pretty good gig. We would film people eating in the spread, and then when we were done, we get to eat whatever we wanted at the stadium, and then get to go home and watch the games. Barry Bonds showed up. He was there, just chilling in the back with Michael Mina, and my boss comes to me and goes, "Here's Barry Bonds right there. Wouldn't it be sweet if he did an interview for what we're filming with Michael Mina?" And I was like, "Yeah, but he doesn't talk." He's like, "Huh? Well, maybe you should go. Maybe you should go ask him to do an interview." And I was like, "Nah, he's not gonna say anything." He's like, "Go ahead, drop your name, tell him who your dad is. He'll do it." And I'm like, "You think so?" And God, how old was I? It was early. I was like 23, and I walk over to Barry and I'm like, "Hey, Mr. Bonds." I didn't drop my dad's name because I hate doing that. But I was like, "Hey, Mr. Bonds, know you're close with Michael Mina. We're doing something for his restaurant. Would you be cool saying a little something?" And his whole family was like, "Oh, yeah, yeah." And without hesitation, Barry just turns to me and goes, "No, I'm not talking." Like, okay, well, carry on.
That's great.
Yeah. That's all I got to say about Barry. Great player, not going to deny that. Just, a little crusty around the edges.
Well, he used to be.
You think he's a little happier now?
I think so. Yeah.
What makes you say that? What have I not seen that says that?
When the Warriors last won the championship, anytime he does any sort of public speaking, his social media presence, it just feels like he's kind of changed in that way. Doesn't seem old and crusty anymore.
Yeah, he's older and nicer now. When he was younger and crusty.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yes. It's like the anti-aging.
Yeah, and now Tacky's like, "Oh well, sorry I asked." Yeah, not great stories. Celtics. There is no more basketball for the time being. The Celtics win the NBA Finals in 5 games, and they got it done, despite Steven not believing in the Celtics, and he's got to do a little hot sauce challenge.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Oh yeah, Jessie had this story about Barry. When she worked at Levi's, she was an usher. Tried walking in without a ticket and credential, and when we stopped him, he held up his ID and kept walking. My response to that, she told me that story. My response to that, yeah, that's Barry Bonds. You let Barry Bonds. I'm sorry. Barry.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
and
don't
the
care if
fact
he doesn't have an ID or a ticket. That's Barry Bonds. It's unmistakable that's Barry Bonds. He goes wherever he wants. He has a I get in for free anywhere card.
that's I agree with that. But I will say it was nice enough. It was nice enough for him to throw, and also kind of probably like pompous, for him to pull out his ID and show who he was. He could have just said, "I'm Barry Bonds."
Yes. Yeah, but
It kind of reminds me of. Have I ever told the story of my dad and Reggie Jackson? Reggie wasn't allowed in the. He didn't have his credential for the A's game when he was calling games with my dad.
no.
Okay. So back in the early 90s, my dad and Reggie are calling A's games. And Reggie Jackson pulls into the parking lot, and the person that works there, that security, goes, "Sir, you don't have a credential. We can't let you in." He goes, "You don't know who the fuck I am? I'm Reggie Jackson. I fucking built this place." And he was like, "Sir, I can't let you in if you don't have a credential." And he's like, "Why don't you go fucking talk to your boss or somebody?" So somebody comes over and they're like, that's Reggie Jackson. Let him in. So then he starts, they're doing, before the game starts, he's telling my dad how he's like, "You believe this shit? Like, come on, people forget. Like, it was only 20 years ago. I'm Reggie Jackson. I won 3 championships for this fucking place." And then my dad's just hearing him. He's like, "Yeah, Reg, I hear you. And then they start the broadcast. "All right, here we are from the Coliseum. Greg Papa here with Reggie Jackson." And Reggie goes on live on the air, goes, "Well, I'm glad someone knows my name around this damn place."
Jeez. Oh, man.
Egos, man.
What was where's the Ernie, or not Ernie 2, Ernie 1. Sorry, Ernie 2. You heard about the guard who wouldn't allow Willie into the stadium in the World Series against the Angels?
Ooh.
Yeah, that was a fantastic tweet. I highly recommend anyone looks up the thread from the writer, Daniel Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Susan Slusser's ex-husband.
Yes, it was an awesome story. But he had a lot of fun with it. With the guard, I think he ended up doing like an interview and kind of holding like a mini press conference, and then doing like a one-on-one interview with Univision. And so there was like a little language barrier.
Yeah.
Just amazing. Nothing like that though. He did not say
no. Reggie
he did not pull the "Do you know who I am" card.
Yeah, Willie's not in the same class as Reggie or Barry when it comes to entitlement.
All right. This I'm gonna dedicate this chip with the hot sauce.
What kind of chip is that?
It's a from Trader Joe's, Carolina Gold barbecue flavor.
Damn, I was hoping you were gonna say Carolina Reaper chip, so it's hot on hot.
Nah, I highly recommend if anyone likes salt and vinegar chips. They're basically salt and vinegar with a little bit of barbecue tang to it.
Nice.
So I want to dedicate this chip, this hot sauce, to anyone, any sports fan who's gotten caught up in the moment, who has gotten caught up in recency bias, who has focused so much on, when talking about a matchup, has focused so much on one team that they kind of lose sight of the bigger picture. I was caught up in Luka and Kyrie mania. Shout out to Guru. I didn't even think about the Celtics and how good their entire team is, and the fact that the Mavericks' third best player was PJ Washington. I should have known. So this is dedicated to all those out there who may have predicted wrong just based on some assumptions as opposed to using some actual logic. And now that I've filibustered long enough, this is for all of you. Cheers.
Takes a big man to eat a chip. And now Steven's going to milk our sympathy.
Not that bad.
Not yet until you swallow. Yep. So, Steven, Jaylen Brown is MVP. Your thoughts?
Deserved. Your thoughts?
I thought so. I mean, he scored more points than Jason Tatum in this whole series. And yeah, let's be real. Tatum had a good last 2 games. Or, yeah, not last 2 games, but the Game 3 win and the Game 5 win. He was solid, but Jaylen Brown was good throughout the entire series. I saw that some people made the argument for Drew Holiday getting MVP. Yeah, I thought Jaylen Brown was more than deserved. And I can't stand the whole narrative of you think Jason Tatum should have got it, you think Jaylen Brown should have got it, you think that he's mad he didn't get MVP. People bring that shit up with the Warriors now when it comes to Steph and KD back in the day. No one cares. At the end of the day, they won a championship. Who gives a shit? They proved everybody wrong.
We don't care about who wins Finals MVP at the end of the day.
No, we don't.
We never do. But let me say this: series sucked. It was boring.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
Even look back on. You can even look back on. I mean, I guess the Lakers and Nets being one of them because it was just so lopsided in terms of talent. But every series at least has like one signature moment. You know, like something you could look back on. Even though the Warriors swept, I mean, that signature moment was LeBron and J.R. Smith in Game 1.
Yeah.
Like, every series has that. And the signature moment, I guess, from this series was Porzingis, I guess, going off in the first half. But
I would say the signature moment of this series was
Peyton Pritchard hitting a half-court shot.
Not even that. I would say the signature moment was Game 3 where the Celtics had a huge lead. They were losing the lead, and then Luka had a temper tantrum.
See? Like, it really didn't have anything to look back on in that way. So, I don't know. I just think that this final stunk. I think the Denver Nuggets had more talent than both the Timberwolves and Mavericks and probably would have been the only team in the West that could have really competed with Boston, and I blame them for this. And now we got to hear from Celtics fans about this whole championship run that they've had in the past couple of decades. And this Celtics team, I guess, like, my favorite thing that I've learned from these finals is Joe Mazzulla is a legit crazy person. I love that.
Loves himself some Jesus.
He is, well, yes, but he is like crazy in the best way.
Yeah.
Like, I do believe that he watches the town 2 to 3 times a week. I do believe that he was showing Jason Tatum clips from the Joker or clips from the Dark Knight, specifically that interrogation scene where Heath Ledger had the iconic line where he's like, I don't want to kill you. No, you complete me. And like the battle versus good and evil. I don't know what the lesson was from that, but I do believe that he did that. I do believe that he showed these guys videos of UFC fights where someone is winning for, all 4 rounds, and then in the 5th round gets caught by like a punch out of nowhere and ends up losing. It's a weird philosophy. Like, the closer you are to winning, the closer you are to losing. It's kind of strange. I don't really think that. I know that there's a lot of symbolism there, but I don't really think that it doesn't make any sense. No, the closer you are to winning, the closer you are to winning. Like, you're not close to losing. I mean, I know that you're using UFC fights as an example, but this is basketball. All right. You're up 3-0. You're way closer to winning than you are to losing. It's a mathematical fact. All right. So whatever. But I like that he's kind of a crazy person and that he's 35 years old. Want to know a fun fact? I got this from the Levitard show, stealing it. But you want to know a fun fact?
Sure.
Joe Mazzulla in the 2011 draft class. You know who else was in the 2011 draft class? Kyrie Irving.
Wow.
That's insane, isn't it?
Yeah, that is.
And he was Mazzulla was undrafted, but still, the fact that they were in the same draft class. Crazy.
Yeah, I didn't know he was 35 until they said it, and I was like, shit, he's only 2 years older than me. Ugh. Stop it. Stop with all the success.
Yeah.
I will say also, though, part of me did think, what's Ime Udoka thinking right now? Could I have done the same thing with this team?
Should have stayed with Nia Long. That's what he's thinking.
Yeah, he should have. He really fucked up there.
That's got to be that's got to be the top thing on his mind. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
You left Nia Long.
She might still be with him.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know.
So we're asking the question, Are we done yet?
Yeah, I knew you were going there. I knew you were going there.
Wow. Are we
Ice
there
Cube,
yet?
Ice Cube should have swooped in and saved the day.
Like
Although
a bird.
Ice Cube is happily married to Kim, his longtime wife.
Nice.
Yeah.
I thought you called him O'Shea. What happened? I thought you guys were best friends and you referred to him as O'Shea, not as Ice
Sometimes I
Cube.
call him O'Shea, sometimes I call him Cube.
Yeah. All right, I get it.
I'll say this. Did you think the Jason Tatum post game was a little forced, where he was trying to emulate Kevin Garnett a little too much?
I watched that live and I cringed. I'm not
Yeah.
kidding. In real time. It didn't take Twitter to tell me like this is just like
Yeah.
Kevin Garnett. Like you're watching it, you're like, oh my God. Like
Yeah.
but you could tell when he kind of leans back, he thinks in his mind, oh, this is that moment. Okay, this is my moment. We did it.
We did it.
Like, yeah. Like
yeah.
the moment with his son was just so organic. It really was. Like,
Yeah.
I understand. I don't think the emotion at the end of the game was forced when he's, got his hands on his, and because like he's been,
no.
He's been much maligned, Jason Tatum. And, even though he's like a 3-time first team all NBA guy, like we've been all getting after him because he's not like this superstar that can win a championship. And he finally did. And it was such a nice moment with him and his son Deuce. I actually, I got a little emotional. I started to well up a little bit, but then he did that interview with Lisa.
I will say this also. Lisa Salters, not Michelle, who the CEO, Wink, the CEO of the Celtics, made a little mistake there. But Lisa Salters basically asked the same questions to Jason Tatum on the floor that she did when they were on the stage. And that's always like an awkward moment to me when someone wins a championship. It's the right after the end result interview where how's this feel? What's going through your mind right now? And then they get up on the stage and it's how's this feel? What's going through your mind right now? It's like, you just asked me this 5 minutes ago.
It is weird. It is weird.
Very awkward.
Not as bad as Lisa Salters telling Derek White to show everybody that smile.
Well, his teeth got fucked up.
Yeah, but come on, man. The guy didn't want to smile. Did you see the look on his face? He did not find that very
Hey, you
humorous.
know what, man? Championship will make it look pretty. And you can easily get that work done in the offseason.
No, sure, but you get your tooth chipped and you go up to talk to the microphone. You want to talk about winning. You don't want to show off.
It's fine.
Smile.
I mean, at this point, nothing's going to bother you. You just won. You're good.
It's like, damn, Lisa. All right. Well,
yeah, he's got enough issues to begin with. He's a beautiful bald man. Show off that smile.
Yeah. But the Jason Tatum thing though, with the we did it, just awful. The what they gonna say now with Steph, and then doing the Kanye thing during the celebration wherever they are, saying like, what will they say when the Celtics end up losing? I guess we'll never know. Yeah, it doesn't really apply. We know what it looks like when you lose. We saw it in 2022. Everyone thought you should break your team up after that, but whatever.
But it's a great story in the sense that this team failed so much in the playoffs, and nowadays it feels like people are just willing to pull the plug. I will say they did change some things up. The biggest thing was they got rid of Marcus Smart, as they say in Boston, but they kept the two main guys, Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. So, yeah, who's to say? I mean, I think they're still going to compete in the East. And yes, I agree with you, Steven. The Nuggets would have gave them a hell of a series. I don't know who wins that. That would have been a toss-up, in my opinion. But yeah, it was just a good story to see like a team that got there 2 years ago, lost, basically went to so many Eastern Conference Finals and lost, and they finally got it done. And now, I'm sure people will still say, well, they got one, so that's cool, but, there's a whole lot of losing, too. I always say at this point, once you get one, they really can't talk shit about you anymore. So, congrats to the Celtics.
Well, yeah, but you also got to revisit the trades. The Milwaukee Bucks totally blew it with the Drew Holiday trade.
Yes.
And maybe it's not a conversation for right now, but I do think Drew Holiday is rising up the ranks for the next great is he a Hall of Famer conversation. That's because it's interesting when you look at what he's done in his career. I know it may not seem like it because it's Drew Holiday, but you look at what he's done. That's right up there with the Naismith Memorial type stats that people putting up.
Now you could be right. You could be right about that.
Also, they're I mean, they don't really their criteria. I mean, they let a lot of people into the Basketball Hall of Fame.
They
but
do.
But Drew Holiday's moving up there, and even Derek White. I know this trade was made a couple of years ago, but we saw how big he was. I think he became the first point guard ever to lead the NBA Finals in blocks. Even though he's just 6'4", but they traded Josh Richardson, Romeo Langford, and a 2022 first round pick that was top 4 protected, which didn't end up going through. So I think the Celtics kept that pick. Yeah, dude, it was pretty remarkable what they did, and they got Derek White out of it.
Not only that, we should acknowledge the trade that was made 10 years ago between the Nets and the Celtics, because the Nets wanted to do a big move, get a quick fix, and get 2 aging veterans in Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce, and those draft picks became Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum. And the Celtics knew when to pull the plug. They knew that they got the 1 championship with Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Ray Allen. They started to lose a little bit in the playoffs. They went to another NBA Finals but lost to the Lakers. And then everything kind of, they weren't having the same success, and they were getting older. And they decided to trade away 2 big names, and they started to suck for a little while. They had to rebuild. And anyone looking to make a connection between the Celtics and Warriors of how they could get back to prominence, there really is no example with this team. The best example is you got to tear it down to build it back up again. And we'll see what happens with the Warriors. There's a lot of dates coming up. Actually, one today. Gary Payton II opted in for $9.1 million, so he's going to be a part of the team this year. And we'll see. They could use him in a trade package. Don't know about that yet. There's a possibility they could give him an extension. Then they got to make a move on Kevon Looney. Well, what are you watching?
So the Rockies walked it off against the Dodgers. It's just funny watching the Dodgers lose to the worst team in baseball. That's all.
Yeah, but they built up enough wins. Well, they'll win the division now.
I don't care. I don't care about the big picture here, Derek.
Your Dodger hate. Good Lord.
Just let me be me.
All right,
huh?
Sorry.
What about you, Mister? Are you a fan of anyone anymore?
No, I enjoy life, Steven. I love everybody except for that damn taco truck. I see you. So GP2
experience hatred like this.
I used to, Steven. It was bad for me. How many Raider games that cause a scene?
I mean, Raider games, bars.
Yeah,
quite a few places.
Too much. We as I said, we got some dates coming up for Warriors and what they decide to do with their future. So GP2 was today. He opted in for $9.1 million. So we'll see what happens with him. Then, sorry, I had the dates pulled up here. Sorry, hang on. Let's see if I can find it. And maybe I won't. Damn it, this is taking too long.
What are you
There are deadlines. There are deadlines for Kevon Looney where he is going to be due $8 million this year. And if they cut him before that date, they just have to pay him $3 million. So that's probably the most likely scenario here is Kevon Looney probably will be cut. And then they got to figure out what's going to happen with Chris Paul. He is due $30 million, I think, towards the end of the month. And they could look to push back that date and try to move him as a part of a trade package. That could happen. But a lot of decisions need to be made before they make the overall decision on Klay Thompson, who can negotiate with the Warriors right now to come back if he wanted to. But it sounds like not going to happen since he unfollowed the Warriors. I'm not saying he won't come back to the team, but most likely Klay will test the waters of free agency and then evaluate if he wants to come back and be a Golden State Warrior.
Yeah, he's gonna look at his options, and he should. He shouldn't just think, yeah, I'm going to stick with the Warriors. And with Chris Paul, isn't it like isn't his contract non-guaranteed? So they could just cut bait with him at no cost. The only reason they would want to try and pay him that $30 million is so they could trade him. I don't think Chris Paul's going to be on the team next year.
I don't think so either. I think that they're going to push back that deadline, see if they can move him and possibly Wiggins, and try to move him. If they can't, then they'll cut him.
Man, there's an interesting team out there that might be able to use a small forward. A guy who can play on the wing. Dallas Mavericks. Wonder if they'd be interested in a little trade for Wiggins. I don't know. I'm just saying.
You think Luka wants him around after he pulverized him and or posterized him in the playoffs?
I would think so. Yes.
All right then.
Yeah. Also, I'll just say this. I think Luka's getting a little too much hate. Just say that right now.
You don't think he acted a little babyish?
He did. There's no doubt that he did. That was a really bad look. But the guy's 25 years old, and we were building him up just so we could tear him down, as the cliche said. And I wasn't a big fan of it because the team wasn't great. And quite frankly, I don't think Jason Kidd was that great of a head coach. I think he got totally outcoached in this one. He didn't do anything to get the ball out of Luka's hands. I know Luka was playing hurt, but he didn't do anything that made them so lethal through the regular season. I think I saw a number like Luka was averaging like 9 assists a game, and that number was way down in the postseason. So I just think Luka was getting a lot of hate, and some of it was deserving, but I don't know, just to say that he's never going to win, to make some sweeping judgments about who he is as a player, as a person. I mean, the dude's 25. He's got a lot of room to grow, and I don't think this is the last time in the finals. You're
talking about Windhorst.
A little bit.
I mean, Windhorst, while I agree with most of what he said, he went above and beyond a little bit.
Yeah.
And I mean, Luka complains a lot. It's annoying. Same way that Draymond's annoying. I get it. Yeah, he just needs to learn how to not bitch as much. It's the bottom line, and just be, you can't be screaming on the sideline. You got to fucking challenge that. Like, come on, dude. It was your mistake.
Right.
Now, should have been a foul? Maybe. Maybe. He may have a case there. But when you're playing with 5 fouls to begin with, it's kind of dicey.
Right.
Speaking of coaching, Steven, Monty Williams. I know a lot of people are like, he got fucked over with the Detroit Pistons. I would say, with the amount of money he's making right now, Monty Williams can live a very good life, just doing whatever the hell he wants.
What a great businessman.
Yeah.
Oh my God. You kidding me?
He is I'm trying to think of the equivalent. Who would always get new contracts and just sit on money? He's like
Chase Daniel.
Okay, sure. I'll say Darrelle Revis, because I felt like Darrelle Revis was a free agent every year. Yeah. Monty Williams is the Darrelle Revis of coaching, where he just like, all right, you guys don't want me? Cool. I'll just sit on my money and not do anything.
That's a product of working with Joe Fortenbaugh for all those years, because there'd be one show per season in the NFL where we'd go over Chase Daniel's contracts and how much he paid as backup, because he was fascinated by that. That was like number 2 to OJ. Anyway,
well, he didn't have to work enough where he can, now he's got to work at a full network and be an analyst.
Correct. But what was his buyout from the Suns? It was like 20 million, over 20 million.
Yeah.
And this one, 65 million. Like, I saw all this stuff about how he should be the leading candidate for the Lakers job. It's like, if I was Monty Williams, I'd take a break.
Yeah. And also, like, how is that really going to, like, I understand, like, Monty Williams has, coaching experience over JJ Redick, but it sounds like they did what they did with JJ Redick. Like, it sounds like that's going to happen. But yeah, he's getting $65 million to not coach the Pistons.
Yeah.
And if you're the Pistons, is there any move you can make this offseason that's going to be better than Monty Williams? I understand they were shitty last year. Believe me, they were awful. What was it, 24 straight losses, whatever it was? 28. Yeah, it was bad. But didn't you kind of know that going in? Like, what was the whole point of paying Monty Williams to begin with? You made him at the time, he was the highest paid coach in the league.
Team wasn't so bad that they should have lost 28 straight, though. Like,
No
and
doubt.
there were certain, and I'm not going to act like I watched enough Pistons basketball to where I understand this, but from people in the know, there was a lot of, actually, speaking of Fortenbaugh with this one, he had this earlier. There was a little interesting coaching decision by starting Killian Hayes over a guy like Jaden Ivey, doing little different things like that. And starting him way more than Jaden Ivey, which Killian Hayes is kind of a declining player and has already proven that he can't really is not really that capable in the league. So I see why they did it, but God, for all involved, I mean, the Pistons get out of it because they got new ownership and they feel like they get a fresh start. Monty Williams is getting paid $65 million.
Can't hate on that. Who had in the chat here? Otis Bird. Monty Williams wasn't a fit with the Pistons. They're in a long rebuild. I get that, but also what was the whole point of getting Monty Williams? Was just kind of build them up. I don't think he's the type of coach that's looking to win now with that team. But whatever. Enjoy your money, Monty. Enjoy your money, Monty. And yeah, Pistons will. I don't know. Go hire somebody else to keep losing.
That's his new nickname now, Money Monty.
Money Monty. I like that, actually. How much money is Brandon Aiyuk going to make? Like the transition?
Nice.
So, this has been the talk of the offseason with the Niners. When are they going to pay Aiyuk? What money is he going to get? Is he going to get in the same stratosphere of Justin Jefferson of 30-plus a year? And it doesn't sound like the Niners are willing to do that. So the social media stuff has gone crazy right now where, Klay Thompson unfollows the Warriors and, Draymond says like, oh, that's fucking comical to me. No one really takes it seriously. And then Brandon Aiyuk on Monday releases a TikTok video where it's him on the couch, his girlfriend or wife, whoever it is, I'm not sure. She is like, oh my God, I got to record this, chronicleize this, and it's him having a FaceTime with Jaden Daniels, who is his ASU teammate. And he's like, what's up? And he's like, man, they said they don't want me. And Jaden Daniels is like, real shit? And he's like, yep. And he posted that to the world to basically say the Niners are telling me they don't want me. And I think everybody's reaction has been, Brandon, there's no way in hell they told you they don't want you. They don't want you at the price that you want. And I'm sure they're like, I think this has already been reported. It has been. Mike Silver has been letting known out there. They offered him $26 million a year. And I guess he refused that. So what is he looking for? 30, 32, 35? I'm sorry, Brandon, but you're not worth that to me. So you can't go around telling your former quarterbacks they don't want me. They do want you, but for a reasonable price at $26 million a year. I think that's fair.
This is next level petty. This is next level. Like, look, when we talk about Klay Thompson, we've seen this before. Guys delete the team's posts, delete their Instagram, whatever. Delete the team from their Instagram. They unfollow them. They start following different and creating all these subliminal messages. With this saga with Brandon Aiyuk, it has not been that way. It's been way more direct. And this is getting on the line of like watching a teenager who is like, I don't know if they do this anymore, but this is what it used to be with the start of Twitter and the start of like Facebook and stuff when you used to write statuses.
Yeah.
When you were in high school and you used to write little messages that were like sub tweets to maybe the girl that you were talking to or something so that maybe she would see it and everyone else can see it so that you can and try to read into it. Like this is that level of petty. I don't think we've seen it like this where the girlfriend just straight after the Super Bowl says this is the last time we'll be at Levi Stadium, where his brother, where he tweets directly at another head coach and Mike Tomlin saying, hey, I guess we look alike when there's trade rumors going around with the Steelers. And then to do this on top of everything else, like, he's also had a couple of other things where it's been kind of like, what's he saying? The cryptic messages or whatever. But this one, like, what are you doing? how can the 49ers look at this and say, yeah, this. You know what? We're seeing all the fuss that you're making on social media. We are going to pay you the $30 million that you feel like you're worth. Yeah, we are going to do that. Is this really helping him? Like, I do think Brandon Aiyuk deserves to get paid, and I do think he is kind of underappreciated. But I mean, if I'm thinking of it from a business standpoint, if I'm the 49ers, well, we've seen what happens with these high-paid wide receivers, and if they don't get the ball, like, what's going to happen if you pay Aiyuk, and then down the line when Debo's potentially off the team, George Kittle's gone elsewhere, like, what if they're giving these younger wide receivers more targets? Like, how's he going to react then? He going to take to social media and you know what I mean? Like, when they always say that with these contracts, we're thinking years ahead with the salary cap, but also you're thinking about the player. I just, how can the Niners look at this and not be the slightest bit perturbed and maybe hesitant? Like, I don't know, the way that he's acting right now, it's not what you'd call professional.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%, Stephen, because you pretty much chronicalized most of what he posted on social media this year. But let's not also forget, I guess he texted his brother or in a FaceTime with his brother, told him right before the draft, it's 6 days and it's fireworks. So we were like running with that one. And then when Amon-Ra St. Brown got paid, he went on whatever IG, whatever it was, and did his little dance. And he's basically done everything you need to do on social media to call out your team without unfollowing them. And I guess he may have unfollowed them too. I'm not even sure about that, or demanded a trade. His agent is close with John Lynch, so maybe that's the only reason why he hasn't demanded a trade to the public, I guess. But Brandon Aiyuk has gone rogue, I'm sure against his agent's wishes, by getting his family involved and telling them, tell everybody how unhappy I am. And I mean, God, it was that the whole thing with Jaden Daniels looks so bad. Like, I'm with you. Like, he's a great player, but at what point are you like, dude, you are just making a spectacle out of yourself? Like, what just stop this. If you're upset with us, then tell us. But like, to go and just be the most passive aggressive person ever and be like, they don't want me, man.
Yeah.
Like, come on. I'm with you. I think at the end of the day, they end up paying him, but like, I would be a little hesitant after all of his actions.
Right? Like, it's not like he's doing this with class. I mean, it's one thing if you, and then you can go on social media and say that you got a bunch of haters and use this as an example. By the way, we did mention this in the NBA Finals thing, but I am angry that the Celtics did the whole "we kept the receipts" thing on Twitter. Didn't include Just Your Opinion Man in any of our in any of our opinions. They had Stephen A. They had Nick Wright. They had a bunch of others. I'll say the Mavs. I think Udonis Haslem was on there.
Yeah, I put you in the same category as all those guys.
Stephen Langford, Just Your Opinion Man, should have been up there, but that's neither here nor there. We'll table that conversation for another day. I just think that, like, at this point, with all the crap that's being talked about him, he's going to play the victim. And I'm sorry, but whatever people think about this, like, you're doing it to yourself right now, man.
Yeah.
I don't want him to do this. You know, I don't want to talk about any player this way, but when you see it, you're just like, my God, man, what's going on?
Well, it's interesting because I do believe that, what was it? It was basically the week where Stephon Diggs started tweeting about Josh Allen, where people were like, if Josh Allen would be fine without Stephon Diggs, then he tweeted out, like, you sure about that? And then that led to Brandon Beane being like, okay, I'm tired of this shit, and traded him away to the Texans. Will there be a point where John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan are like, Brandon, this is becoming too much. Listen, we gave you a contract offer. Do you want it or not? And he's like, no, I don't think I'm worth that. He's like, all right, then we'll find a team that's willing to pay you that amount of money. And that could happen. I'm not saying a trade's off the table yet, but why wouldn't they have done that during the draft if they really wanted to do that? It makes more sense to do that. And go into the season without having him, that's going to hurt your team, especially when you're on the doorstep of another Super Bowl and you don't know what's going to happen with the future. I definitely see more potential with Brandon Aiyuk as your wide receiver than Deebo Samuel. But if he keeps acting this way, I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, if a team wasn't willing to give up a first round pick for him in this year's draft, I don't know if there's going to be a team out there that's willing to pay him what wide receivers getting paid right now. Like, I just think, especially when the 49ers have a majority of the leverage here, like Brandon Ayuk has some, he definitely helps the offense, but and is the purest wide receiver that they have, the most talented. Like, you go to spring training, you go to training camp, it's Aiyuk who stands out, right? He's always the one catching through double and triple teams. He always looks the best in camp. And then you see him on the field and it translates to the field. And he's a total team guy. I think that's what the most surprising thing is like, he's that quintessential Kyle Shanahan wide receiver, very talented, but is also willing to block downfield when he needs to. So I think that's kind of why this attitude that he's had, these actions that he's, it's surprising because his play on the field doesn't reflect what he's been doing through social media. But back to the original point. Yeah. I don't know if a team's going to be willing to pay him $30 million if they weren't willing to trade a first round pick for him. Like, do teams really value him that way? I don't know.
Who do you think is more likely to cave? The Niners when it comes to Brandon Aiyuk or the Warriors when it comes to Clay?
Warriors when it comes to Clay.
You think so?
Yeah, for sure. I think the Niners have a set amount. I think the Warriors will be willing to go a little bit over the amount that they initially were spending for Clay if they feel like they can get if their agent can negotiate. But I think the Warriors with Clay would be willing to cave more than the Niners, because the Niners, they're arrogant. The team's arrogant. They really trust that they can. Look at what they did with running backs until they got Christian McCaffrey. Yeah. Remember, they were dispensable, and
most teams act that way.
Yeah, but they didn't feel like they needed a bell cow, and I think they feel that way about wide receivers now. Hey, we're going to draft a couple. We don't need to pay them that big money. We're going to let them walk or trade them. But and I say the arrogant part. I say that because they have the right to be arrogant.
Yeah, that's true.
They dominated teams last year. They have the absolute right to be arrogant if they want to.
I would say Clay, because they could justify going over a little bit of what they intended, and I'm sure they still want to do 2 for $48. But if they had to go a little bit over and add a third year there, they could do that probably.
Well, he wants at least 3, right? That's the deal that Monty Poole said. Clay wants at least 3, and I trust Monty Poole and the industry sources that he was citing on NBC Sports.
Definitely. Then I could see the Warriors budget on that one. But then again, I could also see the Niners being like, we need Brandon Aiyuk on this team this year. Otherwise, it's going to turn into a shit show. Let me ask you this. Which player do you think is more likely to cave? I'd say Brandon Aiyuk.
What do you mean? So it's like...
Well, the simple answer is Brandon Aiyuk because he's not a free agent. Where Clay won't cave and go back to the Warriors on less money, and then he's attending. Like let's say another team offers him more, like the Magic, he's probably going to take that than staying with the Warriors. For Brandon Aiyuk, he's still under contract, so he really can't do anything unless he wants to sit out the whole season, which would be extremely detrimental to his future. Just ask Le'Veon Bell. Yeah, I'd say that Brandon Aiyuk is more likely to cave and come back. We just saw with T. Higgins. T. Higgins did the trade request and then said, all right, I'll sign my tender and I'll go hit free agency next year. I wouldn't be surprised if Brandon Aiyuk's like, all right, I have no contract, but you best believe I'm going to ball out this season and then cash in and leave your ass next season.
Would you say Aiyuk or Clay has more options?
Well, Clay, because he's a free agent.
Yeah. That's what I think that's why I'd answer it. Aiyuk would cave first because I know the Steelers have been mentioned, but look at the Steelers' history. Like, do they really? I think they feel like they could draft and develop receivers.
But they've changed. They've kind of changed their mentality lately with their new GM, Omar Khan.
Think so?
Well, they went out spending a little bit. Like they got they had to spend to get new quarterbacks. Not really though. I mean, they were pretty cheap. They spent to get that linebacker. Who was it? Patrick Queen? Is he on the Steelers now? Yeah.
Yes.
So they're spending a little bit more now, but I mean, I do think they were probably in the market for a new wide receiver. So while their quarterback position is very cheap, they're able to spend in different positions. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're trying to get Brandon Ayuk.
I think I would be. I think I would.
All right, fair enough. Speaking of spending, have you heard about this Sunday Ticket story?
Yes, DirecTV
Lawsuit.
people are like it's people who are DirecTV members, right?
Yes. So, but now it affects people that are buying it on YouTube TV. So I missed the deadline. They pushed it up this year, which I was pissed off about. I think on May 15th or May 16th, if you had YouTube TV, you had the option to renew for the low price of like $100 or $200, whatever it was this season. And I did it a year ago, but we were given more time. This year they moved it up by a month. And with moving and everything, I was like, I have no time for this. So I totally forgot to do it. And now, if you want Sunday Ticket on YouTube TV this year, you got to pay $349. You could do it in installments, or you could just pay it all off one time, and you're good for the season. So, which is a pain in the ass. But then simultaneously, there's this civil lawsuit going on with how the NFL has conducted themselves with doing Sunday Ticket. And the big thing to come out of this is apparently when they were negotiating with different platforms of how they were going to do the business model for Sunday Ticket, ESPN offered the option of having a low price of $70. That's it for Sunday Ticket. And on top of that, for those of you who don't want to buy the whole damn thing and just wanted to watch a specific team, they were going to throw that in there. The NFL came back and said, no, that's way too little. We want this to be expensive as hell. So basically, what people are saying is the league wants this thing to be so exclusive that not many people pay for it, that they want it to be so niche and it's so high value that people would just rather watch locally on CBS and Fox. And I think that's bullshit. Because if you're going to offer something this great for all of us to watch NFL all the time, it doesn't need to be this expensive. I think $379 a year is insane. And also, I would say this, if you have YouTube TV and you paid for it last year, I think you should be able to get it every year for free after that. But that's insane also. So, basically, the NFL has been put to trial this week. Roger Goodell had to take the stand. Jerry Jones had to take the stand. And they're trying to justify how much they pay for this thing. And I get, like, it's business. They want it to be, if you're going to get every single NFL game at the click of a button and you're in the privacy of your own home, then yeah, it should probably be, not the cheapest thing in the world. But when you hear stories that ESPN was going to make it as low as $70 and what they went with was $300 more, that's pretty shady. So at the end of the day, I don't think anything's going to change. I think that, in the same way that we are suckers to buy Peacock and Netflix and all these other streaming platforms to watch these games, I'm going to speak for myself. Despite how much money it's going to cost, nearly $400, I most likely will pay for it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. How about this? It's originally filed in 2015 by the Mushroom Sports Bar in San Francisco. Wow. How about that?
Yeah, because they don't want to pay for having that package in their bar.
Yeah, well, this will take a while. And to be honest, I don't know. This doesn't mean anything for us. Numbers are just going to keep going up, and DirecTV subscribers are going to just they're going to get whatever their share is, $8 billion up to $21 billion in potential if they're found liable, which is crazy. Geez, AJ, low blow. Honestly, that's how you know Derek is single. Jeez.
All right, Jesse, stop.
That's brutal. Not by the amount of cups in your apartment,
but how much I'm willing to pay for Sunday Ticket.
Correct.
Okay, Steven's getting married, and you just said you're paying for it. How is that fair?
Well, we both do, and it's our money.
I'm not paying for it.
Also, me and my brother share it. So, it's technically going between me and my brother.
Actually, you know what? I should actually ask my little brother, because my little brother uses my YouTube TV, so I should ask him. We need to go splitsies on this.
You should.
And not to mention, there's another guy that uses my YouTube TV, a Mr. John Curley. So I should get 3-way payment on that.
Oh no, three. Oh my god.
I can see John Curley. Oh, my man.
What
I
I
can't.
mean is Derek has
I can't do
disposable
it.
income. I have 3 kids, so I'm working poor.
Oh, I wish I wish I did AJ Cruz. Balling on a budget here, as the kids say. Steven, you think we need 3 editions of Hard Knocks this season?
No.
Yeah, it's a little much. So they announced this earlier this week. There's going to be the Giants offseason Hard Knocks, which premieres on July 2nd. Going to chronicleize everything that went down with the Giants offseason. I think I'll be the only person alive that's into that. The Bears training camp, which is going to start August 6th. People will watch that. I'll watch that. And then there's the AFC North in-season Hard Knocks, where every team, Steelers, Bengals, Browns, Ravens, will all be a part of Hard Knocks during the season, and that's going to come out December 3rd. Can't imagine how much Mike Tomlin's going to hate doing that shit. Out of these 3, which one's the most interesting?
Real quick, did you say chronicleize?
Yes.
Is that even a word? I've been looking that up ever since you've been
Chronicleize? Yeah. Wait, chronicling? You know, how do you say that? Chronicleize?
Just chronicles.
Pretty sure chronicleize is a word, unless I'm wrong here. I've been known to make up words.
I don't think so. I'm looking it up. I don't think
Hold on.
chronicleize is a word.
Someone back me up here. What was the other word I said like 2 months ago where I was like, that's a word? You're like, we're like, no, it's not a word, Derek.
Chronologize.
No, there's no. Chronicleize is a word.
Is it?
To arrange chronologically, establish the order and time of events.
That's not chronicleize.
That's what I'm seeing right here. Chronicleize. Tell me I'm wrong.
I think that's pronounced jize, but whatever. Whatever.
Anyway, what would I say? Chronicleize?
Yes.
Or Chronicle Live with Greg Papa and John Shea?
Yeah, there you go.
I was watching that interview with Willie Mays last night.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. Which one of the 3 are you most interested in?
List them off again real quick.
You got the Giants off-season,
Right.
Bears training camp, AFC North in-season.
I'm interested in the AFC North in season.
Yeah.
I'm kind of over the off-season stuff, and as much as I like the Bears and I love what Caleb Williams and Rome Odunze are bringing, I don't want to be oversaturated with Bears content. Like, we're going to get enough of it through the season. I don't need all of it from Hard Knocks. Although I'll watch it because I will, but it's going to be a lot. So I'm more looking forward to the in-season stuff.
I think everybody was having that idea last year. It was like, oh, the Jets are going to be on Hard Knocks, and they're going to be forced to do it, and more Jets scarfed down our throats, and then everybody watched it and loved it. So while I'm saying there's a shit ton of Hard Knocks coming out, I think a lot of people are going to watch it.
No, I agree. But what about you?
Probably the in-season one, because I just want to see how they're going to do 4 teams at once. That seems like a lot to ask. And at the same time, like, the Steelers just don't seem like a team that's willing to do Hard Knocks. So the fact that this was forced upon them during the season too, that's going to piss them off. That's going to be interesting to see. But I'll watch them all. I mean, the off-season one with the Giants, I could see that being the most boring out of all of them, but I'm a sucker for whenever you see those videos on YouTube or on Twitter where you see the draft room, the war room of what was going on while they're making their picks. I watch every single one of those because I'm interested to see what happens during those talks.
Yeah, those are sick.
Yeah, so I'll be watching all of them. I'll watch the wide receiver show. I'll watch it all. Can't say it'll be good or not, but I'll consume as much NFL content as possible. Case in point, why I'm paying $379 to watch games. All right, Steven. We'll do a little pop culture catch up and get out of here. And I was shocked when I saw this the other day. Not really shocked, but just like, damn, I'm getting old and time is going fast. Yesterday was the 20th anniversary of the film Dodgeball. Duck, dip, dive, dodge. and it's a classic. I remember being in San Diego, 20 years ago with my dad. He was calling games for ESPN baseball at the time with Eric Karros, and we were in San Diego and caught Dodgeball and thought it was hilarious then. Still think it's hilarious now. There's talks of a sequel. I hope they don't do it because no sequels are good these days. That new Beverly Hills Cop Axel F looks awful, but I'll check it out. There's even talks about a Spaceballs too. Like, Jesus, don't do that, please.
Yeah, don't.
But yeah, Dodgeball, hilarious film. Peter LaFleur, White Goodman, all of it's great.
All right. Well, real quick, let's take a look here at the sequel as I try to get these ads off this website that I'm about to pop up here. So, what to know about the sequel? Good God, it really has all the original cast. Look at that picture.
I think that was filmed. Remember they did like a charity event thing? So I don't think that's for the movie. I think they just filmed something.
Gotcha. Well, what do we know? Yes, a sequel was announced in the early stages. Don't care about how much it costs. So far, the only confirmed member of the Dodgeball 2 cast is Vince Vaughn.
Ooh, they need more than that.
Yeah. I mean, if this doesn't have White Goodman, then it's a fail.
No, you gotta have Ben Stiller in it.
No release date. No trailer. Okay, so this was just a useless website.
I'll tell you what.
Glad I got your click for you, parade.com.
If the sequel is just Ben Stiller in a fat suit the entire time, I'll watch it. Because if that's the storyline, that White Goodman is just down on his luck and he needs to join the Dodgeball team to get his life back together again, and he's as fat as he was in the end credits of Dodgeball, the original, then I'm in.
Yeah, with a little can-do attitude and some elbow grease. Is he the most quotable character of all time?
No, God no.
I think he is.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, think about that statement, Steven. Think about different comedies that's been out there before.
Yep.
Okay, okay, like Ace Ventura, more than
I
him?
don't quote that ever. Except for Alrighty then. I don't quote that ever. I don't hear anyone
Austin
quoting
Powers?
Sometimes, but it's always a crappy accent.
Borat?
Borat's a good one.
Anchorman?
Anchorman as well. But that's everyone. You quote the movie Anchorman. When it comes to Dodgeball, you quote White Goodman.
Ernie too knows us too well. Shooter?
Well, yeah, sometimes. Yeah. I mean, that's just a.
Oh wait, are you talking about Shooter McGavin?
Either Shooter or the movie Shooter.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It was like Ernie 2 goes way back with us when we were talking about Shooter on the fucking Raiders podcast we did back in the day.
Yes.
No, Shooter McGavin. Yes, he's definitely quotable as a character.
Yeah, but White Goodman, as a character, no one's more quotable than him. I'm sorry.
I don't know, man. I think there was definitely 90s like characters that took the world by storm a little bit more than White Goodman.
Maybe, but as far as just quotable, see, you're giving all these. You're not focusing on the word. The word is quotable, Derek. I'm not talking about who took the world by storm. I'm not talking about great comedic characters of all time. I'm talking about the ones you could quote the easiest. And I think that White Goodman's right up there. Nobody makes me bleed my own blood. Nobody.
I read about it once in a book.
Yeah.
Okay, well, between him and Pepper Brooks, who's got the more quotable lines?
Oh, it's White Goodman. Easy.
I don't know, man. Pepper Brooks got some good ones. Jason Bateman.
He's got a couple of good ones, but White Goodman has an entire Rolodex. He has an entire movie.
That's rad. He will not be able to see Cop.
That's rad. See, but no one does that. Would you come out with? Will you come out of Nazi camp early today? Thought didn't get out till 8. Did I decide to skip arts and crafts?
Yes, I did.
Yes, I did.
Well, how convenient for you and the clock.
And the clock.
I will say this. Not the first time that Ben Stiller's done that character. It is basically the same character as in Heavyweights. You ever seen that?
Yes and no. I
White,
guess, but
White Goodman is the bad guy in Heavyweights. Just doesn't have the mustache.
I suppose so. Yeah, I guess, but they're still different. Plus, he has the
Well,
mustache.
yeah,
The mustache
obviously.
the mustache is what makes it.
Yeah.
All right, and
No, I
his
agree.
creepiness is what makes it. He was a more family-friendly version, I guess, in Heavyweights. Although
Well, yeah,
Heavyweights,
he's dealing with kids when he's not trying to, get with Christine Taylor, who was his wife.
yes, but nothing's going to compare to Dodgeball for me. Like just well, what about that strippogram you sent for Globo Jib's 50th anniversary?
That was a nice gesture.
It was nice. It was also a man.
In some countries they only eat vomit. I read about it once in a book.
See, we could.
All right, you might be onto something here, but I will say, like, how many people did quote Borat or okay, there's a difference. White Goodman had more lines that you remember, so you could be right here, Stephen. White Goodman had more lines, but the likes of Austin Powers or Ace Ventura or whatever goofy comedies came out in the 90s of characters, they have catchphrases. There wasn't really a catchphrase for White Goodman. You just remember the quotes more. So yes. Right. Okay, Ron, I would say, and we're going to have the anniversary for Anchorman in a couple of weeks here, Ron Burgundy and White Goodman, definitely quotable characters.
Yes, 100%. But, and I get what you're saying with Borat, but no one knows more beyond my life.
Yeah, that's true.
That's true. How much?
And then Austin Powers is basically, yeah, baby.
Yeah, baby. Yeah. You know what's hilarious is our friend Nick, every time we go to a Giants game, he's been trying to make this yes, baby, yes. He's been trying to make that happen every time we go. And he yells it at the top of his lungs and no one responds. No one ever responds. And I feel terrible because he really goes all out. He puts 100% his heart into it. And he just like, anytime Yaz does something good, anytime he comes up to bat, yes, baby, yes. And no one says anything.
I'm assuming Nick is invited to the wedding.
Yes.
I will give him props for that because that is 100% something I would try to do.
Yes. Yeah. Well, it's also like Nick's job for a living to pump up like a crowd. He does that at 49ers games.
Yeah.
If anyone ever goes to a 49ers games and you're at the what? Dignity Health Gate C. Yeah, it's where like the diehard 49er fans are. Yeah, he's the one with the cowbell and the red pants usually. Yeah, that's him. So he always does that, but yeah, never gets he never gets the laugh that he should.
I do like the Yaz baby Yaz. That's not bad.
Yeah. He does it with like every at bat. He's been trying to make it happen for a while, and I think he's just going to keep on rolling with it until. And that's the thing. He doesn't care if anybody reacts. He does it for the love of the game.
Good.
Mm-hmm.
As his job title makes him. Well, yeah. What was exactly his job title?
I believe he's the senior manager for 49ers fan engagement or the director of 49ers fan engagement, something along those lines. He's what?
His job is to party.
Senior manager? Yes, senior manager of 49ers fan engagement. So he sets up all the fan experience stuff, all those invasions that you see in the playoffs. Like 49ers going down to LA or going to Green Bay, going to Dallas, whatever. He's the one that organizes all that stuff. So shout out to him.
All right. Well, yeah. So Dodgeball, 20 years. It's been crazy.
It's been, dude, that's nuts. Yeah. When I first saw that, I saw it in theaters and I saw it with my dad and this kid from England. This kid, he's my friend too, but they were family friends. My dad and mom were really close friends with their family, so they sometimes traveled over here, stayed with us. And their son was around my age. His name's Josh. Shout out to Josh. I think he lives in North Carolina now. But we went to see Dodgeball together, and I was always my parents were kind of strict on the whole like swearing thing
Yeah.
with me, and I remember at the end of the movie when we went home, I think we were talking about the movie, and I remember have this weird memory where he they were talking about Christine Taylor and getting with Vince Vaughn at the end, and I think my dad was like, "Oh, but there was a twist," and then like, "Josh, what was that twist?" And then like he was like, "She was bisexual," and and then like everyone laughed. In my head, I was super jealous. I was like, my dad's never asked me just to say something like that before, and you got to say that, and you lucky bastard.
Well, bisexual is not a curse word, Stephen.
I know, but like it's what I mean. Like it's just
he was being cool with the kids, the kid that is not his own kids, and then he was like, "Stephen, don't you ever say that word again."
Exactly. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't have been allowed to say it. I remember being a little bit jealous.
I thought you could drop like you guys said, like, "Oh, fucking Chuck Norris," like when you're driving home. God, that movie. Everybody's careers, like at the time, it was like the frat pack of like Ben Stiller and Vince Vaughn and Will Ferrell always in movies together. So it was those two guys, Vince Vaughn and and Ben Stiller, and the two of them will later go on to be in Anchorman a couple weeks later when that movie came out. And God, who else? God, what's the name? What's the name of that kid that was in? Wow, what the fuck's his name? Who's like the skinny kid in that movie that like went on to have a good career in movies?
In which one?
The nerdy kid that was one of the cheerleaders.
Oh yeah, Justin Long.
Justin Long and Rip Torn, famous for other roles, but I mean, God, is Patrick O'Houlihan.
Well,
should I drink my own urine? Is it necessary? Necessary to drink my own urine?
You're about as useful as a poopy flavored lollipop.
Yeah.
No, dude, I see. Well, whenever there's a conversation around like why there's no comedy anymore, it gets into like the budget of movies, and people have the conversation about how with Marvel movies and superhero movies and stuff, there's only these high budget films that are made, and no one's really interested in low budget comedies anymore and all that. And like I that's definitely part of it, but at the end of the day, there hasn't been any comedic writers or comedic talent that's come up and made these sorts of movies and convinced the studios like this is what people want to see. I mean, you talk about heavyweights. That's where Judd Apatow got his start,
Yeah.
And he was kind of the godfather of all those guys, whether it was with Freaks and Geeks, and then Seth Rogen did his thing. Then Seth Rogen created this whole new version of movies. By the way, there's a Sausage Party TV series coming out.
I saw that
trailer already there, which I'm whatever about it. Sometimes it's a weird show. I like it, but it's whatever. I'm fine. But
is it already out?
No, it's coming out soon though. I just think that there hasn't been that next generation of great comedic actors. I thought it was there with like Saturday Night Live with Kyle Mooney in them. I thought those guys would be like really popular when it comes to movies and stuff, but you haven't really had that. You haven't had a Andy Samberg, Lonely Island. You haven't had a Danny McBride. You just haven't had that.
Yeah, I mean, well, Kyle Mooney made one movie and it was good movie, but dark. You ever see Brigsby Bear?
No, I heard of that though.
It's a good movie, but man, does it make you think and like it's kind of disturbing. But yeah, I know like I agree with you, Steven. Like, is anybody gonna put like Shane Gillis in a movie? I don't know about that. Probably not. I mean, okay, actor in the Tire Show, but probably not good enough to get his own movie. Maybe, who knows? But yeah, like when you think about that cast back once upon a time, Justin Long, Rip Torn, I think his name is Alan Tudyk, or I forget the actor's name. The guy that plays Steve the Pirate is well known in the comedy game.
Right.
Hank Azaria. I will say maybe my favorite part of the whole movie is the old like instructional video of Dodgeball, where it's like, "Cheapers, mister, you scared the bejesus out of me," and it's younger Patrick O'Houlihan, Hank Azaria, and he's describing the rules of Dodgeball. And for whatever reason, I always laugh when he's talking about when a player catches a ball and you're able to get a new player to come in the game. He goes, "It's a two-player swing," and it just always makes me laugh. Just ridiculous.
his corny, like, "Oh, you betcha, champ."
It's a two-player swing.
Here's the interesting. AJ Cruz is saying, I think stand-up comedians need to come save the day, and Otis Bird is saying they do, but I think some of them are afraid of getting canceled.
Yeah.
Well, maybe there's a little bit of that, but Bill Burr's acted in a couple of things, but he's been in more dramatic roles. He's not really been in that many comedy roles, except for like King of Staten Island, I guess. But
yeah, he was in that. He was actually good in that.
Yeah, no, he's a solid actor, but the ones you're seeing now, like when they talk about their heroes, Dave Chappelle and Eddie Murphy and George Carlin, all those guys ended up becoming actors. I can't picture the popular comedians of this day. You mentioned St. Gillis. I guess Theo Vaughn's right up there. I guess Joe Rogan. Bert Kreischer tried making a movie. It flopped. Like all these new podcast comedians now.
Yeah.
I don't really see them being actors. I mean, I guess like, I don't know, Bobby Lee and Andrew Santino or probably could be, because that's where they came up. I mean, Bobby Lee was doing Mad TV and Andrew Santino was doing Punk'd. I guess those guys. And to be honest, AJ, Bert's a better comedian than actor. I'm tired of Bert. His shtick's old. It's like, oh, funny. Bert took off his shirt again and said a story that's definitely not true. I just like, I don't know. You just don't see them anymore. You don't see the Aubrey Plazas or the Aziz Ansari's. I'm trying to think of stand-up comedians that have made it in the acting world. I don't know. Yeah,
like a lot of it doesn't translate today. Like, I just don't think a lot of people are trying to make it big as actors anymore. I think they're trying to be more podcasters or, go viral on YouTube. Like it's different now. Like you're not looking to get a sitcom. You're not looking to, be in movies. It's just different. The order of things and what, is deemed as success is different now for comedians.
Yeah, for sure. And it's not to say like those guys are bad at what they do, except for Bert Kreischer. I just don't think Bert Kreischer is that funny anymore. But like all those guys that I mentioned, very good at their craft, and they're all very good in the podcast realm. But yeah, no one has the aspirations anymore of getting into comedic acting. And I think ultimately that's the true downfall of comedy movies and why we just don't see them anymore.
Well, I'll say this, I have been checking out on Peacock, Bubkiss, Pete Davidson show that came out almost a year ago.
Yeah.
He's a pretty good actor, but I think mainstream audiences are not looking to watch a comedy in theaters anymore, which is crazy to me. Like they made Pete Davidson a star in a movie and it didn't respond very well. The movie was good. I thought King of Staten Island was fine. But it was during COVID. It didn't perform well, but that's a hard ask. Like even, you mentioned Andy Samberg and, we love him, but when Popstar came out, that movie flopped big time. And I think it's one of the best comedies of the last 10 years, but people didn't go see it. So yeah, it has a lot to do with financially, are you going to get your budget back when you put a big comedy out there? And more like most cases these days, most like Happy Gilmore 2 is going to be on Netflix. So if they make a big, comedy sequel, it's most likely going to be on streaming because then they don't have to have a, big financial risk with it. But if they put that movie in the theaters, then they run the risk of nobody going to see it. Like The Fall Guy was an action movie, but there's a lot of funny stuff with it, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
Ryan Gosling's a huge star. For whatever reason, people did not go see it. And it's already on digital, download today.
Ryan Reynolds. Yeah.
Oh, Ryan Reynolds. Yeah, my bad.
Yeah.
No, it's Gosling.
Oh, sorry. I thought you were talking. Never mind. Sorry. I had another movie in my head.
Yeah. Anyway, Dodgeball, 20 years. Crazy.
Yeah.
Time flies.
You just say this. God, is that next? I'm like pondering these next generation. I haven't even mentioned. Didn't even mention the Adam Sandler. Didn't even mention the Jim Carreys. Didn't even mention all these guys were coming up.
Well, back in the day, you had SNL, and God, who's the biggest name on SNL right now? That's another thing too. Like people, watch for Andy Samberg or Bill Hader or Will Forte. Now it's like, who is it? Mikey Day or who's the biggest name on SNL right now? Probably still
I guess. Well, Keenan might be, but there hasn't really been one. Kate McKinnon was probably the biggest recent star to come out of there.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I couldn't even tell you.
See, here's what I don't like. This is just for my generation. We're a little bit of a generation different to AJ and skills, but they're trashing Adam Sandler right now, and I will have none of that. I will have none of the Adam Sandler slander. Try and say that 5 times fast.
Yeah.
None of the Adam Sandler
that's
slander.
A tongue twister.
First, you had AJ Cruz saying Adam Sandler needs to go away. Skill says, if I ever laughed at Sandler, I can't remember. Then AJ saying Sandler hasn't been funny since The Wedding Singer. How dare you? How dare you? How dare you? That's all I got.
I love me some Sandman, but it's been a minute since he's made me laugh, I will say.
Don't care. He shaped my childhood with his movies.
I know. Hey, listen. I will always. There are 3 guys from the 90s that I consider the best at comedy when it comes to acting in movies. Jim Carrey, Adam Sandler, and very slept on because a lot of people just think of him for one movie, but Mike Myers. I think of Wayne's World. I think of So I Married an Axe Murderer, Austin Powers. He was fantastic. And you could probably throw Robin Williams in there too, but he made a career for himself way before the 90s. Yeah, you just don't see guys like that anymore. Ben Stiller too. It was later on. Ben Stiller did Zoolander and all the funny movies he did later on. But yeah, like you don't have like Will Ferrell went away from doing movies. It's a weird time for comedy.
Will Ferrell's got one coming out with oh God, who was it? I gotta look. Will Ferrell has a new one coming out.
Yeah, I thought I saw that too. Actually,
it actually looks kind of legit. But I gotta make sure that it's been rough for him since the other guys. What's it upcoming?
Will Ferrell?
Yeah.
Well, I love the other guys.
Well, I mean, like since then. Oh, that's right. You're cordially invited with Reese Witherspoon. Looks great.
Are they a couple?
Follows a woman who is planning her sister's wedding and the father of another bride-to-be. They discover that they are double booked for their destination wedding, so both parties decide to share the venue, but chaos and disaster await.
All right. Uh-huh. Can't say I'm a big Reese Witherspoon fan.
Why not?
She not my cup of tea.
Is it because her most popular movie is about hair and you don't have any?
Legally Blonde?
Excuse me?
How long have you waited to say that one, huh?
I didn't. I just thought of that off the dome.
Yeah, off my ball dome.
I was walking the line.
Yeah. So are you saying I'm legally bald?
Sure. Yeah, God, I'm getting crushed for that. Ooh, that's a low blow. That was uncalled for.
Oh, stop it. I know I'm bald. Relax, everybody.
Oh, that's mean.
I was more offended by AJ Cruz's, or who was it earlier that made fun of me for spending that much money because I'm a single man.
I don't think that's where AJ Cruz was going with it. I think he was more saying that.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm still gonna hold it against you, AJ Cruz.
Said I'm disrespectful.
No more KMBR tickets for you, my friend.
Said I'm disrespectful. I do feel bad for that one.
No, relax. I know I'm bald. I just want to be put in the same category as Robert Saleh when it comes to my sexy baldness.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's fair.
Yeah. No, I agree. 100%.
All right. On that note, I think we're good. By the way, to everybody give an update here, Steven, I will be getting the couch Saturday. Me and Walter Ichabal Celta, if he doesn't have to do anything with KMBR this weekend, which I got to make sure with him now because there's a lot more stuff we got to do with Willie Mays passing away, unfortunately. But plan is to pick up the couch this Saturday. You won't have 2 couches in your apartment anymore.
Very excited.
As you should be. And I can have a couch here now. I won't have to sit in my bed or this chair every time I sit down.
Nice.
Looking forward to that.
Look, man, I'm excited for it.
You should be. I think you're more excited for me to give you $100, but
yeah.
All right. On that note, thanks to everybody in the chat tonight. Ernie 1, Ernie 2, Skills Report, Jesse, AJ Cruz, Otis Bird is the word. Who else? Tacky was in here earlier. I think Danny Golding TV was here as well. That's everybody I could see for the time being. Steven, say what you always say.
It's just our opinion, man. That was boring.
Yeah.
That was a boring one.
Yeah.